Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor, in the studio for our Wednesday show. Fire and Ice, Tom Santinello in the house. What's going on, Tommy Machine Gun?
How you doing? What's going on?
I'm excited, dude. Like, we're so close to fantasy football. Today, we're talking fantasy football rankings. We're just going to dive in, have an open discussion. For example, let's give him an example. I'm going to talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to tell you if I think he's worth his ranking spot on his ADP. You give us some realistic feedback on what you expect of him. Let's have an open discussion. We'll talk random players, every team, have some fun here. And so much of my shows are geared towards top 10 sleepers, top 3 sleepers, top 10 rankings, top 10 running backs. I like the diversity to give that open discussion. We talk for 45 minutes, you and I. Open discussion, real football talk, get people hyped up. That's what it's all about. What do you think, Tom?
That's ready to roll.
All right, guys, before we get into that, make sure you guys head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Get the 16-round draft solution. Listen, guys, you're going to have an optimal roster as close to bulletproof as possible. All of these sleepers, breakouts, all the optimal players to draft in each round, omitting the players that aren't worthy of a roster spot for you. Get the 16-round draft solution at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com, or I've linked it below. I'm telling you guys, you're going to be very happy this season winning your leagues. All right, Tom, let's dive into this. So we're talking ADPs. I've got the Conchipsis ADP rankings built up here, pulled up here for us. Now, let's start off with running backs. It's one of the most famous positions. Everyone likes talking about it. And let's start off with the guy I teased with, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. His value has skyrocketed. I just had Chris Johnson, CJ2K on the show. If you haven't watched that episode, go back and listen to it. And I'm telling you, man, with CJ2K, he loves Zeke Elliott. That's his favorite player because he's been consistent, and Derrick Henry. But he loves Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a rookie because of the opportunity. He thinks that with the way the defenses are going to be focused on the other options like Kelsey and Tyreek and Hardman, all the other options, and Mahomes, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get a lot of opportunity. Do you see that being true, or do you think Darrell Williams, Darwin Thompson, the other guys there are going to be a factor? And will he get the rushing attempts? What do you think of Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the whole picture, man? What do you think?
I mean, I'm not too concerned about the other running backs in the picture. What I am concerned about is Andy Reid's offense and his offensive play calling style, which spreads the ball around. Now,
right.
If he ends up having somebody super special with Clyde, okay, maybe he's going to take some of the load off Mahomes, but I just think they have way too many weapons for him to be that big of an impact. They do not seem like the team that, even if they're up 35-10 in the fourth, are they going to give it to Clyde to just pound it in? He doesn't seem like that type of back. I can see him being a versatile, kind of like a poor man's Kamara, who I'm not even super high on, but a guy that's going to get some touches in the passing game. He might get enough touches to be a one running back, but I don't think he's going to be that guy that you know, what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, the hype is crazy, Tom. I mean, it's absolutely insane. The mainstream saying, oh, they've got him ahead of David Johnson, Todd Gurley, guys like Jonathan Taylor, who I think is probably the best running back coming out of this draft, who actually, from what I'm hearing at a training camp, is running over people. And I think they're going to ride the hot hand there. Why wouldn't you start your best player? Marlon Mack has been good, but I don't think he's been that good. He's always been slightly above par at best. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sold completely on the Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If you do draft him, make sure that, you know, when you are looking at your fantasy football rankings, don't buy the hype that he's sitting up there on top. And if you do draft him, make sure he's part of a robust RB strategy. I talk about that in the 16-round draft, so be cautious.
Well, when they say they're going to ride the hot hand talking about the rookie, what they're really saying is Taylor's our guy as long as he shows up to play. They're obviously trying to move on from Mac. That's a no-brainer there. So
right.
You know, they want Taylor's going to have every opportunity to overtake him, and he's going to have the hot hand. He's a better running back. And Mac's not horrible, but, you know, Taylor has the chance to be something special, which Mac doesn't.
Exactly. That's my thoughts exactly. And right now, Jonathan Taylor's sitting 22nd on the rankings. Like, I can't believe guys like Melvin Gordon is going to be sharing a committee with Lindsay. And let's talk about that real quickly. How do you think that plays out? Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay. Does Philip Lindsay become a major pest, or does Melvin Gordon take that starting job?
Listen, first thing, I'm not a huge fan of Melvin Gordon. I'll say to you, just show me the proof. What has he done? What has he done in the NFL?
Nothing crazy.
I would not want him on my team. He's another Carlos Hyde. if that.
A little better. I think he's better than Carlos Hyde. I'd give him that much.
Health issues. How many full seasons has he had? Not many.
Not many.
I don't love the guy. I mean, I still think he's got a lot to prove. I think he had some potential coming out. He's reached his potential. I think he can be a solid Carlos, 1,000-yard a year back. Philip Lindsay, I don't think he's a really, really good player, but I think he's an NFL running back that can come in. I think he'll be better that's more of a 1-2 punch to me with Gordon. Gordon doesn't have the explosiveness, the breakaway talent, that kind of stuff. So I think this offense, I think it's going to be more. I think you just have to keep the teams honest. And I think they're here to throw the ball. Let's face it. They got a really good young tight end in Fant. They got a couple really good young wide receivers to go along with Sutton. They have the weapons. And now the Broncos, I really do think that the running is. You just need a little bit of a running game to keep them honest, to keep the defense honest.
Yeah, you know what? Melvin Gordon, pulling up his stats, only had 1,000-yard rushing season. That's pretty sad considering he's played all those years as a starter pretty much, right? So
trying to hold out last year. I mean, he just, Alvin Cook holdout.
Not a fan of Melly G.
Well, what has he done? I mean, listen, I'm sure he's a good person, good play. He's a good player when he plays, but he's not a great player. Let's call facts the facts. The facts are the facts.
I agree. Let's keep continuing on looking at the running back rankings here. David Johnson sitting at 21st. And this is where, again, they're just going with the recency bias. Okay, because he had a bad year. Kingsbury screwed him last year. 21st. There's no respect for a guy who's claiming and coming out and saying, hey, I'm going to have 1,000-yard rushing season, 1,000-yard receiving. I got a chip on my shoulder. O'Brien's got something to prove, the coaching staff for the Texans. They got to prove that they made the right decision with Johnson. They're going to run him to the ground. What are your thoughts on DJ?
See, this is a thing where I think a lot of people make rankings that don't know football. You got a guy like Kenyon Drake, number 9, and then you got David Johnson, 21. And I would rather flip that. Kenyon Drake hasn't done what David Johnson has done. Granted, David Johnson hasn't had the career he hoped for after his breakout year. But I like David Johnson in that offense. I think they're about to pay Deshaun Watson. We'll talk about him more in the quarterbacks. But I truly think that they want to take some of the pressure off of Deshaun Watson. They took a step back in with their wide receiver core this year, even though they added a couple players. They lost one of the top 5 wide receivers in football. So for me, I really do think David Johnson's going to have a good year. He's going to have opportunity.
Yeah.
Talk about opportunity like you were with, Clyde the Glide in Kansas City. You're talking about he's going to have opportunity here.
Right. Absolutely. He's going to crush it this year. Absolutely. I like him better than a layer. And the thing is, I don't have to draft him in the first round. I can get him in the 3rd or 4th round. So, I'm actually going to make a bold statement. I'm going to say David Johnson will beat Clyde Edwards-Helaire in fantasy points. I'm going to come out and say that. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that's not too bold to me. I can see that happening.
It is when you are the Concheapsis. The mainstream would think that's insane because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sitting on the most high octane offense in the league. So people are going to look at the offense and say, oh, but everyone's sleeping on Deshaun Watson. I mean, Deshaun Watson's a good quarterback. I mean, he completely slept on.
He can get paid. He's trying to get paid. He can get paid any day now.
Yeah, definitely.
He wants over 40 a year. So. I mean, he is their future. They're going to pay him most likely, and they're going to pay him, you would think, pretty soon if they can agree. But from what I hear, 100% he's not taking a discount like Mahomes. I don't want to say Mahomes took a discount. He definitely took a discount up front. He's not getting a lot of guaranteed money as he probably should have, but he's also not getting paid as much over the next couple years of the deal. So he definitely took a discount on the contract. It's definitely more team friendly, but I will also say that I know Deshaun Watson's not going to do that.
Right.
You see a lot of big quarterbacks do that. Brady over the years and other ones, kind of to help the team. But
continuing on with running back rankings here. I mean, again, a lot of guys being slept on. Man, oh man. Let's go here. Let's talk about I don't know, the hype. Lower body injury just heard right now. Miles Sanders sitting 8th. I mean, the opportunity is there, but are they going to run him? Is Peterson going to say, hey, and Miles Sanders is the guy? That's what they're saying. But, man, now with this lower body injury, it's like, okay, we've always been kind of like flirting with other running backs, maybe a Freeman. Now they might start looking a little bit more. What do you think?
I mean, first of all, nobody knows what the injury is. I don't believe. I haven't seen anything substantial on what it is, and I'm sure it'll come out. So hopefully it's just day to day, and you don't have to worry about it. If he's healthy, I really like him in that offense. Listen, they run, They run that West Coast offense heavy into the 2 tight end sets. They throw to 2 tight ends more than anybody else in the NFL. They're going to throw the ball first, but they do need some running, and I do like him as a running back. I think, like you're right though, with Peterson, the play calling is going to be how good this guy. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's a great player, and I love the guy. I think he's a great player. I would ride with him.
Yeah, I like him too. Again, part of a robust RB strategy as well. We just talked about guys that, years to wow, so we're not wowed. Suspect offense with Burrow coming in. Joe Mixon sitting top 10 right now. What are your thoughts in his rankings? Again, another guy that, had a pinnacle year back in 2018. He had like 8 rushing touchdowns. He's not a guy, like we said, Melvin Gordon, right? He's not going to be explosive. He's not going to shine. What is the deal with Joe Mixon? Why so much hype around a guy that's just not phenomenal?
Well, number one, he's stuck on the Bengals. I don't think he's phenomenal, but I think he's good. He's better than Gordon. I think he's below Chubb. He's in that range between Gordon and Chubb.
Right.
And I think he's a good player. I don't think he's great and elite. He was a good player coming out of Oklahoma. He had those injuries with the domestic violence. I'm sorry, injuries, the incident kind of dropped him and put him on a different level coming into the league, but he turned himself around and he's a really good player. But he's stuck on the Bengals, being stuck on the Bengals as a running back. I don't know. I think he's in his contract year as well. And I don't think he's coming back. They've paid a few people this year. They're going to, they got to pay AJ Green again this year, which I think he just got hurt again. I just don't like the situation. Rookie quarterback, okay, O-line. I mean, it's a tough situation. I think he'll put up another, 1,000, 1,200 yards, but it's about it.
I'm a little biased. I don't like Joe Mixon. If you haven't seen it, just YouTube. I'm not going to pull it up here, but YouTube Joe Mixon punch. And I watched that video in the restaurant there. Ever since I saw that, man, to blatantly, I mean, it was a while ago. People change. I get that a little bit, but to blatantly right hook somebody full out, especially a woman, was crazy.
Oh, I mean, I think I'm not sticking up for him. I think she called him a racial slur.
Oh, did she? Oh, I didn't know that.
Like that. You got to go back and read the story. But I mean, I'm not sticking up for him and what he did. He knows he was wrong.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. Anyway, it is what it is. I didn't get the backstory, but still, man, I mean, you got to control that and find other methods to deal with that. And part of this stuff, I won't get into this, but a lot of it is association, even with Kareem Hunt, where he kicked the girl and he said, you're hanging out with the wrong crowd, dude. If you're hanging out with somebody that's capable of calling you a racial slur, I think you're hanging out with the wrong people. I think you should be a little more judgmental, but these guys are young, right?
He was in college in Oklahoma, and it was some girl. I think they would, I don't know if they would, who was drunk or whatever. She seemed drunk after a pizza place at 2 a.m., whatever it was. I mean, whatever. But the problem to me isn't that's an isolated incident. He's never done anything else. And he's had super good character before and after that. It's the guys that have multiple issues, multiple issues that you have to watch out for. Tyreek Hill has had multiple issues, hurt him. Right. He got millions less on a contract. When you have multiple issues, that's like, those criminals, usually the petty thieves, they always keep committing crimes. You let them out of jail, they go back to jail, let them back to jail. So these guys that are like that, they're going to keep doing that, is the odds. That's what the odds say.
Right. They'll return.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, with running back rankings. Okay. One more thing in regards to rankings. Christian McCaffrey across the board ahead of Saquon Barkley. I mean, Saquon can emerge past Christian McCaffrey. It's a different offense this year, right? 116 receptions. There's no way in hell Christian McCaffrey is going to duplicate those numbers. Even if he comes down a little bit, still good fantasy production. But do you see Saquon Barkley surpassing Christian McCaffrey?
I think there's a new coaching staff, and I know there's a new coaching staff in Carolina, but I think they're going to throw the ball more. I don't think they're going to use McCaffrey, but I do think they're going to try to take a lot more downfield shots, a lot of play action in that offense. And I think he's going to have less opportunity in that offense. He's still going to have a stellar year, but he's not going to do what he did last year. Now, Barkley, I think it's going to be more Barkley is the offense, and Daniel Jones goes around it,
similar to what Chris Johnson said. It's like, yeah, you can feed Christian McCaffrey all you want. He'll have pinnacle record years, but they won't make the playoffs. Same with, I think, the Titans did with Chris Johnson's record year, whatever year that was. They still never made the playoffs that year. So, yeah, they got to find another strategy here in order to win, and hopefully they throw the ball more.
Well, I think also both of those teams aren't going to be that good this year, but Carolina had one of the worst defenses last year, if not the worst. And, I mean, I think they spent all their draft picks on defense. So they're going to be behind more, I would say. I don't, they have a new quarterback. I don't know how good Bridgewater is going to be in this offense. I mean, Bridgewater's another guy. He can put up stats. Doesn't mean, like you said, doesn't mean you're going to win. You're throwing the ball from behind. You're throwing the ball all the time because you're behind. It's not a good thing.
All right, let's move on to quarterback rankings here, and we'll just do wide receivers as well. Just open talk about a couple players, highlight a couple guys, just kind of look at the overview of the rankings. But again, just to recap and finalize the running backs, they're out of whack. There's a lot of guys that should be higher, obviously. Last year, Le'Veon Bell was round 1, which was insane. I told you guys, Le'Veon Bell, new offense day away. Damian Williams was early round 2. Henry was being slept on last year. Guys, be careful with the consensus rankings. That's why you got to get the 16-round draft solution at thefantasyfootballcounts.com. We go beyond rankings. We give you all the optimal players to draft in each round. I've done all the research for you. Get it today, guys. 16 rounds. All right, so moving on to quarterback rankings, again, also out of whack. Dak Prescott, 3rd. I mean, Dak Prescott, I see him having a great season with the addition of CeeDee Lamb, Tom, but this guy was a guy that was outside the top 10 for years, had a good year last year, and obviously the mainstream, like, hey, man, he had a good year, finished top 3. We got to paste him over and draft him again in the same order he finished. He's good, but 3rd overall, I think that's a little extreme. What do you think of Dak?
I think the where Dak can improve with the coaching change and throughout his career is he can become a better quarterback, winning games, but not in fantasy. Now the other flip side is McCarthy comes in, takes the job. He's been known to throw the ball a hell of a lot more than the ball. They usually like in the bottom, not the bottom half, like the bottom 5, I think, in rushing attempt in Green Bay all those years. However, he's never had an Ezekiel Elliott. So I think this is going to be a more of better quarterback to win football games, not fantasy wise. And I don't think he should be up there, number 3.
Yeah, I mean, he could finishing, but
a lot of guys could. Yeah. But I mean, I think even if they do win games, they're going to, give the ball to Elliott in the 4th, and they're going to be up. They're in a shitty division. So no, I'm even. Listen, the name of the game is to win the game. That's it. So I don't think Dallas is going to be a bad team. I think they're going to win this division. Philly will probably be number 2, but I think Dak is going to be a good quarterback this year. He's also playing for his contract still. But he's going to have to be the quarterback that makes the throws when he needs to and makes a few extra, but he's not going to need to throw for 300 yards a game anymore.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a good season. I'm just not investing the earlier draft capital when I get Matt Ryan later, who's sitting 8th amongst rankings for quarterbacks. Yeah. How about Aaron Rodgers sitting 13th amongst quarterbacks, a guy who, with Adams hurt last year, obviously hurt him. Now there's a chip on his shoulder. Do you think there's a chip on Aaron Rodgers' shoulder, and does he have a good season?
Number 1, there is a chip on his shoulder for sure. Number 2, I do think he's going to have a good season, and I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be his last season in Green Bay. Even if he comes out, wins the Super Bowl, do whatever. I mean, you got a 1st-round quarterback sitting on the bench, unless it's really bad over there, and he doesn't play that well. Loves, the 1st-round kid they got out of Utah State. But I like Rodgers, and I think he's going to be a solid addition this year. I don't like the help that's around him. I like that young tight end. I think he can take a step up. But I don't I like they're going to go a little more heavy with the running ball, so I'd still be careful as they're going to be trying to be a little more balanced than in the past. So I think he's not going to have as many opportunities, but I think he's going to try to take control of that offense away from the coach. There's going to be a lot of bad blood boiling, and this is last year in Green Bay.
Yeah, another guy here sitting 25th on the rankings here. A guy that I'm getting as a backup in some of my leagues, not all of them, because I don't know if I trust him. Total boom or safe candidate, maybe even bust. But Drew Lock sitting 25th. He's got a lot of weapons, man. How good is this young kid from what you've seen in college? I like him for fantasy this year as a backup.
He was good in college. He kind of didn't have the best senior year or whatever. I don't know if it was junior year he came out. He was supposed to go a lot higher in the draft. He went to this, I think, in the 2nd round to Denver, and that was their guy. He has the potential. He's got the swagger. He has the it factor, I think, and he has all the stuff. I like him. I don't know how much like I said, I think they're going to try to throw the ball. I don't know if he's going to be ever going to be a top 5 quarterback, but I think he'll be in the top 10, 15. He can be that type of guy to lead the team. He's going to be a good leader. They have a great defense on that team. So I like him higher than his ranking, a lot higher, at least 10 spots higher.
I know you had some questions for me. Is there any questions you want to ask me in regards to any of these rankings as well?
I mean, I'm fine with your questions. I was a little surprised. I know Josh Allen's ranked pretty high for my taste. Deshaun Watson seems like a guy that, I know they struggled last year in some games, putting some points up. They got a thing. What do you see about Deshaun Watson this year?
Just quickly, Josh Allen, he had 9 rushing touchdowns, so his numbers are a little inflated, but again, he didn't throw a lot. I think he throws more now that he's got a true wide receiver one. So where he's going to lose in rushing touchdowns, he's going to make back up in passing yards. Deshaun Watson, I mean, he's had some injuries in the past, college. I think it was college. He's torn his legs. Listen, I don't know. I always have my doubts about this guy, especially now with losing Hopkins. I like the offense, but something in the back of my mind always pegs him for a guy that could potentially get hurt. So personally, for me, I love him. I think the work ethic is there. I think the talent is there. Something about him doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy for fantasy football, especially so high in ADP. Give me a Matt Ryan or a Russell Wilson where I feel a little more secure, even a Josh Allen ahead of Deshaun for sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about Josh Allen. Quarterbacks like that usually don't last long. They drafted another running back. I think they're going to try to give him a chance to throw the ball more this year. I don't think he was ready last year. This is, him, Baker Mayfield, third year in the leagues, very big year for them. Sam Darnold too. Sam Darnold might be the best one of those three. Let's see what happens.
I think Josh Allen by a landslide. I think Allen's better than both those guys.
Yeah, but he's got to throw the ball. He sucks at throwing deep balls. He's got Stephon Diggs this year. If I tell you what, if he's not hitting Diggs, Diggs whined his way out of a winning situation in Minnesota. Let's see how he does now.
He'll whine again if he doesn't get the ball. Again, how about Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson? Very, very expensive for fantasy, predicated on last year's numbers. Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and they bounce around. Sometimes I'll see Lamar come off round 2. Obviously, Pat Mahomes come round 2. But typically, both these guys are off the board round 2 and 3. Yeah, gone off the board.
I go with Mahomes.
I think Mahomes has a better year too. But are they like? I would not invest. I mean, what's the difference in points between these guys at the end of the season between him and Matt Ryan? If Matt Ryan has a good year, there might not be. Maybe it's a 40-point gap, but you're going to be losing all those players as you get the workhorse running backs round 2 and 3, investing in one of these quarterbacks. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
We're looking at what Lamar did last year, and that's where they're drafting him off of.
Yes,
what he did last year. They're looking at those points that he put up.
But they got a running back now. They got Dobbins there, so I think he gets worked in.
I'm selling. I'm not buying Lamar this year at that high, but hey, he could prove me wrong. I didn't think he'd have that good of a year last year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not touching them. So yeah, in regards to rankings, I think Brady has a good season. Daniel Jones, I'm kind of like on the fence about this guy. I think he has a safe season. I think his receiving targets are just subpar. What do you think of Daniel Jones? He's ranked 14th.
There's so many guys like Daniel Jones, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, like all around there, Drew Lock, Phillip Rivers. They're just it's a crapshoot with those kind of guys. Daniel Jones, that's the Saquon Barkley show, and I think Daniel Jones has some. His best games were his first couple games last year. He came in, was like the hottest selling jersey. Then he kind of dipped, hit the rookie wall pretty quickly. I think he's a professional. I think he's a leader, but I don't think he's going to be ever going to be a top 5, top 10 quarterback. I think he'll be in that 10 to 20 range, middle of the pack type of guy.
Okay, yeah, I'm not really sold on him. I don't know. Something about me is like, he'll be like just mediocre. You know what I mean?
Another situation. I mean, keep an eye on New England. I mean, still can't. That's not Cam Newton's job yet, so people got to relax with that as well. Yeah, that's why I'm staying away from that situation. Stidham's job to lose, so. We're gonna have to see how that plays out. All right, let's move on a little bit. Wide receiver rankings here, and man, there's so much value at wide receiver. I'm going crazy, man. That's why I'm loading up on running backs. And first guy here ranked 14th. A lot of hype around him. Again, we talked about this offense. Carolina, DJ Moore. What is the hype around DJ Moore, man? I'm not seeing it. He had a decent season last year, but man, was DJ Moore that good? I don't see it. I think he was good. But I also think that they're banking on the new OC coming in and Bridgewater, and they're going to just gun the ball. He's going to be their one option, and he's going to catch a lot of deep balls, and he's going to be the guy there. So I think this is based on what he did last year. He's going into his 3rd season and what he's going to do. He's a good player. Right. And I think he will produce and end up, top 10, top 15 wide receiver probably.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm suspect about the passing game there.
Volume, though. He's going to get the volume.
Yeah, volume. That's what it's going to get. Yep, he's going to similar. Another guy is going to get volume, and I'm not really sold on situation. And I think he's great value. He's actually coming off. His ADP is picking up. He's sitting 20th amongst wide receivers, coming off in the 4th round. Typically, Terry McLaurin. What do you think of him? I like him. There's something appealing about that situation.
I like him. I think he's a good player. He's probably one of the best all-around players on that team. I just don't know who their quarterback is. It could be Haskins. It could be Alex Smith. It could be Kyle Allen for all we know. I just don't think we know.
It could hurt him if it's Alex Smith. Alex Smith, just safe, boring, throw for 10 yards, get the first down, move the ball down the field, right? Like that would actually be a concern.
But I mean, I think McLaurin's going to be the one on that team. I like the rookie Gandy Golden there. They're a young team. I mean, I'd stay away from most players on that team. I think Geis is gone now at the running back position, but they still have a lot of running backs. I don't know. I told you before, I've been saying this for the last 3-4 months, Alex Smith's the best quarterback there if he's healthy, and not just healthy, but if he's healthy to close to the level he was at. Now, all teams want to do is win football games, right? So they're a team to me that should be tanking a little bit more, maybe for Trevor Lawrence. But I don't like the quarterback situation. I just think, I don't know. They have Haskins. I'm not a believer in yet, but let's keep an eye on him because it really, to me, it's his job to lose.
Right.
But it's Alex Smith's job to win, with Kyle Allen being it's weird because he traded for Kyle Allen to come in as a backup. I don't know. I don't want to say they didn't have hope in Alex Smith, but hey, coming back from those surgeries and that injury, they just couldn't rely on him to come in there either. But Alex Smith's not coming back to be a backup, I don't think. Maybe for a little bit.
Like we talked about this before, and my concern with Alex Smith coming off that injury, which led to septic shock or whatever you call it, where he almost died. He got an infection, and it was a disaster. 17 surgeries. My concern is his confidence. You're going in, you got these defenders gonna run at you and try to take your head off, and I mean, the confidence is a big thing.
He's a mobile guy too. He likes to move around, so it would tend to affect the guy like that more, especially when he's got to plant and run. So
I hope he's okay, man. Hopefully he's good to go. I mean, he's been cleared, so that's gonna be a big concern.
Though, I mean, I still like the kid. I like Mclaren. I like him. He's a good player.
All right, another guy. Let's talk about the wide receiver situation because there's a ton of value at wide receiver for the Steelers. Deontay Johnson sitting 39th right now amongst wide receivers. You can get this guy 8th round, after the 8th round. Okay, 12 people league. I love Deontay, or are you sold on Juju taking the entire light there and being the guy? What are your thoughts here?
I think you're going to have some issues here because I think Juju is going to be the one, but I think they're going to spread it around. I think you're going to have Johnson, Washington, and Claypool, the rookie. So I think there's a big chance there could be too many balls to go around, and none of the guys perform up to their level.
Similar to Dallas. Now, with Dallas, I'm scared because I don't know how many volume, but with Big Ben, he throws the ball a lot, and he tends to gravitate to receivers particularly. So if he takes a shine at Deontay is going to be the guy. That's how I feel.
I see Juju being the guy, and every other game there's going to be a different guy to come up too. Like Ben's been doing that for years when he had Marcus Wheaton and all those other guys. Like some guys would have 100-yard games out the blue because they were the ones open that game. I think Juju's still going to be the one. I don't think he's going to be a stud, but I think he'll be the one in Pittsburgh at over 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards in that area because he's going to be the main guy. But they just need those other guys and the 2 tight ends they have to take some of the double coverage off him.
Yeah, but when you find the situation where they spread the ball around, someone isn't special. And I think Deontay and Claypool both have the chance, one of them, to be special. And if they become special, then they become the primary receiver. I don't think Juju is special. I think he's good. I don't think he's special. I think Deontay or Claypool, one of those guys could emerge.
Yeah, if it's funny because they usually sign their guys early, but they didn't re-sign him yet.
Who, Deontay?
No. Juju, because he was up for an extension after year 3, and Pittsburgh's known to sign their guys early and try to get the discount.
Right.
I don't know if Juju wants too much money. I don't know if the Steelers are nervous. He's had a lot of injuries too. So, I mean, I don't know. I think Juju is better as a high-end number 2 wide receiver on other teams. I think he's better in the slot. I think they can put him back in the slot sometimes this year and put Claypool on the outside, put maybe Washington or Johnson on the outside, the tight ends. So I think they're going to move it around a lot this year to help out getting Juju the ball. He's still going to be their go-to guy as far as catching the ball and reliability.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I just think the other guys could emerge. I think the Steelers know it. They're looking for a big year. I think Hayden just said that Claypool's catching balls over his head, and he's doing great.
I told you when we did the draft show, I think he's got the chance to have an impact. Maybe not first few weeks of the season, definitely second half of the season, but I like him. In that offense, I like him too to have some big games. But like you said, not every week. Stash him away.
Rankings again, the audacity of this guy. Like, here's one thing that shocks me. Now, Odell was drafted in the first round every single year by the mainstream consensus because his name is Odell, is a popular name. He's gone down to reality to some degree, coming off in the 3rd round, 12th amongst wide receivers. I still think Landry's the one, but I do think this year Odell does take a bit of a step up. What do you think of Odell this year?
I like him better than last year. I
So do
think
I.
he's going to have. I don't think he's going to catch 100 balls. I think that's Landry's job. I like him better than last year, maybe to break 1,200 yards receiving. I think his touchdowns will go up in this offense, and he'll be a better player. I don't think he's going to be that 14, 1,500 yard a year guy that people wanted to see a few years ago. You're right. A lot of media people don't know what they're talking about. They get caught up in the hype and the catches. But he was an excellent wide receiver, top 3 or 4 in the game at that one point.
Right.
I just don't think I don't know. I don't think he's going to be, I think he'll be a better player and performer if they allow Landry to be that possession guy and catch some of the balls that would normally go to Odell and let Odell kind of get more freedom going down the field and allow him go over the middle and make bigger plays. Because that's how they'll be a better team. So I see 1,200 yards. I see, 10 to 12 touchdowns.
These rankings are out of whack. I'm just not going to draft Odell. I'm getting a running back in round 3. And I explained that in 60 rounds, guys. Get the 60 round draft solution or go to thefantasyfootballcouch.com. Godwin and Evans. I hate when the mainstream does this. They can't decide who the wide receiver 1 is. The only reason they have Godwin ahead of Evans is because he had a better year last year than Evans. So they're like, okay, we don't know. So we're just going to put both these guys in the top 10. I think that's crazy. None of these, one of them could finish top 10, but not both. What do you think? Evans, Godwin, is there enough volume to make these 2 top 10 wide receivers? I say no.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, Gronkowski's still his favorite target. I think Gronkowski's going to have single coverage and going to be better than people think he is this year, but I don't think he's not the one over there. I think I'd rather go Mike Evans because of the big play potential and the downfield threat. And Mike Evans is a better player than Chris Godwin. He's performed over the years. Godwin's had 1 year. Not saying he won't blow up and be the next Jerry Rice, probably not. But I'm going with like you say before, and I say with the Nick Chubbs and the mix. I like sure things. I like guys that are going to perform. Mike Evans has always performed on the field.
I'm torn on this because then people are saying, well, Brady's arm isn't the same. He's not going to throw downfield as much. Godwin's going to get the shorter passes.
Who's saying that?
Mainstream, everybody, just people, fans, everybody, just kind of the word of mouth.
It's good when I was watching it the other day in training camp yesterday. It looked pretty good.
Word on the street is Godwin's going to get more receptions and get more volume. I don't know.
It's funny because that often nobody has any clue whoever can say something like that has no clue about anything in the football because this is Tom Brady's show. Bruce Arians is obviously the coach. They're going to throw the ball a ton. So maybe there is a chance for them to both finish in the top 10. I don't think so with Gronkowski there, but maybe. But I really love Mike Evans in that offense. But listen, I mean, Tom Brady's going to go to the open guy. He gravitate maybe towards someone like he used to years ago, even Randy Moss. He's going to design plays for guys like that, for Evans going deep, but he's going to go to who's open.
Right.
Nobody has any clue. Like I can tell you right now, like the rapport with Ben and Juju, but nobody has any idea what Tom's going to go do. He's never thrown to these guys before.
Right. So yeah, man, just a couple other news things that are I'm just kind of seeing some news here. I'm going to pull up some news. I just want to talk about it really, really quickly. News, notes, and quotes. I'm going to pull it up here. From what I'm hearing, Dalvin Cook limited in practice amid extension talks. This came out today. He's not holding out, but Melvin and anyway, what I'm trying to say here is Melvin Gordon 2.0 is what would have happened is what I was trying to say. But anyway, Dalvin Cook, I think, why are they limiting him? Is it just a durability thing? Is it he's limited? Why do you think that he's limited here?
A lot of these teams aren't going to tell you why. So I don't know. Listen, I've been through this business a long time. A lot of teams, they just won't talk. You don't know. It could be a little ankle injury. It could be a little something. If they're discussing an extension, I've never seen anybody hold someone out for that and limit him in practice because of that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
If they're limiting him, I mean, maybe because
preservation.
I don't know. Maybe he's not ready. Maybe he's not in shape. Maybe I don't know. It's not going to be because of extension talks.
All right. Next news here. I noticed here Michael Gallup called number 1 receiver by new coach Mike McCarthy. He's been earning early praise from head coach early in camp. Mike McCarthy referring to him as the quote number 1 on Tuesday. I don't know, man. Michael Gallup is good. I think he could have been a wide receiver one in his own respect. It turned me off a little bit. I would have been drafting this guy in all my leagues. It turned me off when they acquired CeeDee Lamb. So what do you think of Gallup, man?
I mean, Amari Cooper's still the number 1. He just got over 100 million, right? I don't know. So he got a lot of money, but I mean, it's a hope Mike McCarthy doesn't screw up this team because, like I said, if he starts like throwing the ball and not giving it to Elliott enough, there's going to be some problems here. CeeDee Lamb's a rookie. I don't take as much, put as much emphasis into rookies right away. I know what you're saying. CeeDee Lamb is supposed to be special, so I would still take Gallup over Lamb just because this year because he's a rookie. In the future, just like in Denver, I like Judy over Sutton, but not this year. But I think Judy's a little more ready than Lamb, but Lamb can have some big play potential. Cooper's still the guy that, and it's not what McCarthy thinks, it's who Prescott's going to go to. And he's always been going to Cooper usually when he needs those bigger plays. And Cooper's been producing a lot of those.
All right. I got something here for you. Michael Pittman building quick rapport with Rivers, a guy that I've got on all my teams as a sleeper. Colts wide receiver seeing a healthy amount of first team snaps in practice and building a quick rapport with quarterback Phillip Rivers. So this is exciting, man. I'm excited to see him emerge there. Young talent.
I like him. I like the talent there. Like I said, hard with rookies, but I think that kid, I told you this before. We talked about it. You liked him. I liked him. I told you he was more ready than a lot of those other receivers come in and play. He's not going to be exciting and explosive and the big play guy. He's just going to be a really good wide receiver in this league for a long time. And it's probably going to start this year. I like him. I'm going to ask you, what's going on with the LA Rams? You got Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp in the middle of the rankings. You got them above Cortland Sutton, who's number 23 or so. But Woods and Kupp, that's an interesting, they don't have Cooks there anymore. So what's your thoughts on the LA Rams?
This is a tough one. A lot of people ranking Woods ahead of Kupp, but I still think Kupp's the one there. Where Woods lacked last year was touchdowns. I think he only had like 3 touchdowns. I see that going up. I see him being a safe PPR target, but I still think Kupp is the guy pending or barring any injury. It's a tough one, man. I'm probably staying away from both these guys, but again, I feel warm and fuzzy with Kupp, a little more proven. Rapport is there. Woods kind of still turns me off from the old Buffalo days. I don't know why I'm so hung up on that. He didn't do good there.
Number 2. He's a good number 2. But like I said, they shouldn't be ahead of Cortland Sutton, I think. I like him this year. I like Cortland Sutton.
I love Sutton. Problem is Judy's there. We don't know who Drew Lock is going to gravitate to. He could just go Fant and Judy all day. We don't know. Hamler's apparently going to step up as well. Who's the guy? Sutton could just be the red zone guy. We don't know what Drew Lock, because we haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think Sutton's too good. I think him and him already have a rapport, and I think Judy's the number 2. Like, let's talk about this year, because next year Judy being the second season. But Cortland Sutton's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he is. I was a Sutton guy from day one. I think he was being underutilized when was it Keenum there? I think Keenum hated him or something like that. He wasn't throwing the ball to him.
You're seeing potential, and it's like, in Atlanta, can Calvin Ridley ever be that one receiver he has the talent for with Julio Jones there? Probably not.
No, he can't.
But he's great. On other teams, he'd be the surefire one.
Yep. And it's just hindering that talent. We saw it with, other guys throughout the years. I hate when that happens, when they have 2 really good wide receivers and that really good wide receiver is buried under another guy. It really bothers me.
Coaching staff too, because at least in Tampa, you have a chance with Arians to get those guys involved. You have chances with some coaches and play callers for both guys to succeed. But in Atlanta, it's just been a disaster over there.
It's been the Julio show.
Well, no, but I'm saying the coaching's been a disaster. The play calling's been a disaster. It's a disaster since that 28-3 lead they gave up. It's a disaster.
Right.
It's been the Julio show. Julio's great. He's probably the best wide receiver in football right now. Yes, he is the best wide receiver in football. I'll go out and say it. I mean, forget about fantasy and this and that. I'm talking just all around. If you could have any wide receiver on your team this year, you're taking Julio Jones.
Julio, I love him. I mean, I like Adams a bit, but I like Julio a little bit more.
No, that's not even a discussion. Adams over Julio? No.
Julio's a beast.
No, I mean, Julio's clear cut number 1. A lot of people, I think, Antonio Brown's not playing. He's the only one. Like a couple years ago, obviously, people would argue them too. Now people are saying DeAndre Hopkins is up there, but I'm not sold on him being the best.
Not this year. This year.
Tyreek Hill blew his wad when he, blew up that contract, missed some games and stuff like that. But he had the potential. He really did. But I don't, he's on that offense too, where they spread it around. Michael Thomas, I don't know. Let's see what he does this year coming after last year's season. I mean, I like, it's different when you got, Mike Evans is a top 5 receiver if you're starting the team. I mean, he has to be what he's done. But that's neither here nor there. Any other news?
No, that's it, man. That thing that's popped up to me. I won't get into it too much right now. Darius guy's dealing with some stuff from the past. I won't get into some sexual assault allegations. I just won't even dive into Darius guys because he's not really going to be relevant. So
No, it's kind of a waste of my breath at this point.
Yeah, forget it. So that's it, guys. Fire and Ice with Tom Santinello. We'll get him back next Wednesday. We are ramping up towards the season. Get the 16-round draft solution. Follow the Tom Santinello podcast on iTunes. Tom, thanks for having you on as per usual. Always a great discussion, man.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. We are out. Subscribe. Leave your fantasy questions. I'll get to as many as possible. Talking rankings here. I can't wait. Fantasy football is around the corner. We are out. Thank you.